Hello, listeners.
Yeah, we can't put the claps in the podcast.
Well, I might put a clap in the podcast.
Well, it'll blur their eardrums out.
I'll turn it down.
Well, yeah, no, Shelby was just clapping. You're either going to hear it or you won't, but don't worry, if we do hear it, we'll bring the sound down. Well, that's quite a lot of claps.
Wait, was it not meant to be for?
No, you want to do one that's going to make it way hard. I'd start it again. But that was a trick that we learned. Well, I learned it quite a bit ago actually, and I'm sure you did too. To line up the audio, we're recording it in a different way. I've got mine plugged up to my mobile phone, and Shelby's got hers plugged up to her mobile phone. Because when we did it in a laptop last time, there was a lot of interference. We didn't hear it in the moment, but after about 30 minutes, we had a lot of techie interference. Some weird, maybe it was the fan in the laptop.
Atmospheric noise, wasn't it? Like, woo, and all that.
Yeah, like a UFO coming down. That was exactly. But it was weird because it only started 30 minutes into the episode.
Yeah. And
nothing changed in the room, so I'm convinced it's the laptop. So that's why we've gone to mobile phones. But anyway, welcome to the pod.
Welcome, episode 2.
Episode 2. We've actually missed 2 weeks now. So we're doing it every 2 weeks on Tuesday. The reason we've missed it is because we're still trying to get used to managing everything. We're still early days on our travels. We've been traveling for, about just under a month and a half now. We're just trying to manage the logistics, the experiences we want to achieve, fitness, one-on-one time, and then our personal, just relaxed time. And of course work as well, as we're both working very much full-time on our own projects. So it's a lot, isn't it?
It is. It's a lot to manage, a lot to juggle, and then like any time that we've thought, oh, let's do it now, it's just not really, like, to the point where we were almost like, should we do it on the flight? Literally.
That's literally what it's been, and we were annoyed we didn't get it done, but we are going to get the cadence. We're getting into the groove of managing everything. Like even just now, we were still like, crap, like we could, we've got a ton of other stuff we need to do. I've not done it. Well, let's not say that on the pod, but I've not.
I've not done any of my objectives this week.
Yeah, let's just leave it at that. We're figuring it out, but we promise we will do a regular cadence every 2 weeks on Tuesday. And what we'll probably do is record them maybe a couple of episodes, so then we're ahead of the game. But today, Shelby's going to take us through our new format.
Well, I think the listener may be surprised to hear that the 3 sections of our podcast. Are you ready? In fact, can I have a drum roll, please? I think you've got a really appropriate drum roll over there.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, it's going to be about relationships, travel and philosophy! Woo!
Exciting.
Yes. Kel surprise, big surprise. So we've decided that, in keeping with what we've said the podcast will be about, we're going to, actually, it's, I guess, travel, relationships, philosophy in that order. We're going to chat about our recent travels, things that have happened while we've been travelling, places we've been, things that we've done, exciting things, etc. Then in our relationship section, we'll obviously speak about our own relationship with each other, but also how we're maintaining our relationships with our loved ones that are many miles away, many hours away, and how we just stay in touch with them, how we maintain those relationships. And then philosophical learnings, which will vary from I guess podcast to podcast in terms of their seriousness. So whether it's, what is the meaning of life, etc., like real philosophical questions / just interesting musings. Philosophy is quite all encompassing, so I guess that'll change podcast to podcast what we cover in that. But that is the overview of today's podcast.
Yeah, and we're still very much figuring out this podcast. We definitely know what we want to share, but trying to understand what the format is something we're navigating. So this is one we're going to try out. I'm going to give it a go. It is as to the book as we could be. But, future episodes, it's going to evolve every episode, but this is how we're going to approach it today. And, hopefully you can join with the evolution of it. So I think the last time we were on the episode, we were in Indonesia. It must have been the second or third week of Indonesia. We were there for a month. So how did we finish off Indonesia? It was an exciting place, it's definitely one worth visiting. Bali is pretty stereotypical in the sense that it has got all the yogi bears there. And what I mean by that are all the people who want enlightenment and are going to do lots of yoga and wear lots of rocks and, look at you in a funny way. So there is the stereotypical people. There's a lot of them, I'll be honest.
Social media influencers.
Yeah, the influencers, all the ones like, oh, it's all about peace and love. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of those sort of people, but I shouldn't say that. I'm a fan of everyone.
I was going to say dating one.
Yeah, I'm dating. No, you're not someone who puts it in your face. You are true to those things, they are your values.
Yeah. Whereas
I feel like these stereotype people is they say a lot, but they don't do a lot.
Yeah, like we saw lots of people, like one night we went to one of the temples in Bali to watch one of the cultural performances, and at the end when, people were waiting and taking pictures with the temple, I remember there was one woman who was there with a guy with like a professional camera, and she was doing all like the prayer poses, and she's just taking an absolute age to take the perfect photo with this temple. Which, I mean, you can argue, is there a right or wrong way to take a photo at a temple? I don't know, but so there's lots of that, lots of that you can tell like photographs for, I guess, for content and for show or.
Well, there is an Instagram tour.
Yeah, there is. So you can take the quotes Instagram tour of Bali, which was interesting. What I found particularly interesting was that none of the tourists smiled.
Yeah, that was weird. It
was bizarre because the locals are super friendly, really smiley, welcoming, and Scott and I have all our default resting face is smiling. I find, particularly you.
Yeah.
Right, we just we're always smiling, walking about smiling at everyone. Oh, hello, how are you? It's just like it's in our nature. But we just didn't get many smiles back. And even to the point where there was that one guy, if you remember, he looked at us sort of half smiles, and then it was like he quickly adjusted his face to like, oh no, shouldn't smile. I'm serious influencer in Bali. Peace and love, maintain composure. I don't know what the issue was, but I found that quite bizarre, and it's not the experience that I've had in the past.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out why that was. You can only assume, can't you, that maybe they just take themselves too seriously, but I don't believe that everyone there takes themselves that seriously. We met some lovely people. It's that's just some maybe not so good points, but also to be expected in Bali, but not to be expected in other parts of Bali from other parts of Indonesia. We're quite interested in going back to Lombok. So we didn't go to Lombok, but we're interested in going back to Indonesia to go to Lombok. That sounds like a really exciting place. Seems even more forestry, even more nature, and one local even said apparently that one of the villages got voted the nicest village in the whole wide world.
In the whole world? I did not realise that.
Well, it was either that or it got lost in translation.
It's either that or the shittest place in the world.
Yeah. It was the same when we were getting massages on Gili Trawangan, so that was the closest we got to Lombok. That was definitely a most fun experience. We went to incredible islands called the Gili Islands. It's 3 islands. The one we went on was Gili Trawangan. It's 6 kilometres all the way around it, so very, very small. And we had a massage on the last night. And, we always try to engage with locals, but of course, English is not their first language. And, some of them can speak fantastic English and then, of course, some not so good, and this guy couldn't. But again, bless him, he was so trying. And for the first 10 minutes, we understood a lot of what each other was saying. But for the next 40 minutes, I just didn't understand anything he was saying.
Yeah.
And it was a shame because we were really connected, and he was a really nice guy, and he was telling me about the culture and the history of Lombok and Indonesia as a whole. But what was the takeaways I told you I got from our conversation, second half of our conversation?
I don't know.
It was something like, so he was telling us about the history, and the takeaways that I managed to translate is that it's something like barbecuing and they cut each other.
Oh yeah. It was seemed like some sort of ceremonial thing that you learn.
Yeah, obviously that was terribly translated and wasn't the correct thing, but after 40 minutes of him telling me the history, all I got from it is that we fight with knives and that we like barbecues. So it was, obviously the translation, so that can be difficult. But Gili's a stunning place. We did some fun things there. What was your best part of Gili?
It was just beautiful. I think arriving there, it was... what's really interesting is Bali is Hindu, whereas the rest of Indonesia is Islamic. And Bali, there's loads of dogs. And on Gili Trawangan, there's lots of cats. And when I say there's lots of dogs and there's lots of cats, I mean like free roam. I know you're used to seeing cats free roam, but in Bali, dogs just free roam. Generally, they'll have a collar on if they have been vaccinated. And they're super tame, and they'll get out the way of the cars. They're really streetwise dogs. I'd say that they behave like cats would you. They're not particularly interested in coming up to you. The dogs, pretty much behave like a stereotypical cat would. They come and go from the house as they please. They, wander off with other dogs. And you'll get to know the dogs in the area local to where you're staying. And, we absolutely love them. And we met one dog called Burrito. I'm going off on a bit of a tangent. But we met one dog called Burrito. I'll tell a story about him in a bit, so I'll get to the point. But he was a super sweet dog. But on Gili Trawangan, there was lots of cats, and I just find that interesting, because I've heard before that Islamic people are more likely to have cats as pets than dogs. I had a friend that once told me it's something to do with the cleanliness of the animal, that dogs are seen as less clean than cats, and that I don't know if that's a stereotype or if that's just what she told me, but that seems to be the case, that cats are more popular in Islamic culture and society. So I found that interesting, that we got to engage with the doggos in Bali and then the cats in Gili Trawangan, and we met a cute one called Pocket Rocket. So we named her.
She was adorable.
She was like the size of your hand and was just a little pocket rocket. She was playing with a bit of a shell or something, and then she really took to you, Scott.
Yeah, she was adorable.
What was your best bit about Gili Trawangan?
Yeah, no, Gili was great. But it is funny to take that away, that Bali was full of dogs and Gili was full of cats. There wasn't maybe saw one or two dogs there, and it is just a funny difference. And it did feel, of course, what comes with the Muslim community, of course, the prayer and I don't want to get it wrong, but anyway, the singing in the main mass that goes on, I think it's 4 times in a day. So there are some key differences that you notice, but it is just so interesting to go so quickly from a Hindu community to a Muslim community. It's quite interesting, but be in the same country. I thought that was really interesting. For me, probably my run. My run was just, I did 3 laps of the island, and it was just stunning. I've never seen beaches like it. There's something about remote island beaches that are just different. I think because it is just beaches on all sides, it's just a different sort of feeling. All you can see is sea all around you, and the odd island in the distance. It was stunning, and the water was super, super clear. The coral was the most coral I've ever seen in my life.
That sand was like what you get in the jars from house, home decor, isn't it? When you get a jar filled with sand and coral and shells, that's just what the beach was. Yeah,
it really was. It was that was well impressive, I thought. It was really good. And we finished off the trip and with some massages and just relaxed on the final weekend, didn't we?
We did. Yeah.
It was a good old trip. So that was Indonesia. Then we moved on to Singapore.
We did.
And then a couple of takeaways from Singapore. So we did a week there because we thought, well, from what we've heard, you don't need too long there. And I would also say that, I think we could have done a bit long. But again, we were working in the week. So if we weren't working in the week, then I would say a week would be absolutely fine. We could have done, the odd other thing. But we did a bunch of things, Shelley went to Universal, which you can chat about in a minute. I went to the zoo, which is one of the leading zoos in the world. That's why I was so keen to go to. It's super diverse. Got to see like a sun bear, which is really good fun. It's a really cool animal to see. Orangutans, chimpanzees, lots of cool animals. So I definitely recommend that. But I was eager to see tech. I was so eager. Singapore is all about technology, and I think we did eventually get some tech. We got it right at the end. Through we went to this tech museum, which wasn't as impressive as I expected. I thought we went to a science and art museum, and I thought it was a bit naff.
Yeah, I enjoyed the first part of it.
Yeah, the first bit was great. That was really interesting. So there was a really cool thing where you could do a drawing and then you scanned it on this thing and then it made the drawing come to life in an environment. And even on one of them, you could actually fly. You drew a plane, you scanned it, and it came onto this like huge LCD, like cinema-sized screen, and you could actually take control, and you could control it. It was really cool. I also saw something similar to that in the airport, where in the Lego store, you could, if you're trying to figure out which Lego to buy, if you took any of the Lego boxes over to the screen and you just hold the Lego box in front of the screen, it scans it and then it brings the Lego all built to life on the Lego box, which I thought was quite cool as well.
How? Sorry, explain that. I don't understand. So you scan the Lego box on a screen.
Yeah.
And then what happens?
And then the Lego comes to life on your box.
So the box is interactive?
No. So if you go over to the screen, you get the Lego box, you put it up to the screen, it'll scan it, and then you'll just hold it in front of you, and then whatever is in there will suddenly build on top of it. And if you look at the screen, you'll see it built on it.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you could see what you're gonna buy.
Yeah.
So you could see if you're gonna buy, some big like Star Wars, ship, then it would build and show you that on it. It would show you on the screen with the box, and it would show the entire thing built on the box.
Oh, nice.
So you could see what. So and there was some couple other things that are pretty techy and cool. I'll leave it there. I'll give my final summary of Singapore in a minute, but I'll let Shelby take over.
Okay. Well, I really like it. It's my second time going to Singapore. The first time I went was after my year in Australia, and I wasn't ready to go home yet, so I booked a 10-night stay in Singapore. But I was advised by some friends to that was too long. So like Scott said, I think a week is absolutely plenty for Singapore. But these particular friends, I guess, weren't that interested in Singapore, and they're like, just have like 2 or 3 days there and go to Bali for a week. So that's what I ended up doing. That was the first time I went to Bali, and the first time I went to Singapore. I just had a couple of days in Singapore. So it was nice to go back and do some of the things that I wasn't able to do that first time. So some really notable things were on one of the days when Scott was working, I chose to go to Universal Studios because I'm on a mission to visit all of the Disney parks in the world. So far I've done California, Florida, Paris and Hong Kong, which means that I've got Shanghai and Tokyo to go. I think that's all of them. And Universal Studios, there are 4 in the world: California, Florida, Singapore, and the last one escapes me. But so I'm basically trying to go to all of the Disney and Universal parks in the world. So I went off with my Universal Studios Florida cap and had the day there, which was nice. They had Chinese New Year celebrations going on, which was pretty cool. Like they had a Kung Fu Panda show. So that's something that I did on my own. But something that we we knew that we had to do was to go to the famous hotel Raffles and have a Singapore Sling, which is a cocktail that was invented in that particular in the Long Bar in Raffles Hotel. So we went ahead and did that, which was really nice. I had been to that bar before, but I don't think they had a Singapore Sling because at the time I don't think that I liked gin, and it's a gin-based cocktail. But as you enter, we noticed that there's loads of nutshells all over the floor. And what's interesting about this particular bar is you get a massive sack, like I'm talking like bigger than an A5 piece of paper sack of peanuts in their shells, and you're actively encouraged to throw the shells on the floor, which for a classy hotel is quite an unusual experience, which I wasn't too keen on initially, but then, you know, when you realise how messy they are, you quickly get on board with throwing those nuts on the floor. But yeah, Raffles was definitely a highlight for me. And then Marina Bay Sands on the last night. Do you want to talk about Marina Bay Sands?
The Marina Bay Sands was lovely. we managed to hack it really, because we went there not all as their clientele. You know, their clientele was someone dressed up, suited and booted, come just for this place. You know, Marina Bay Sands is basically a hotel which has like 3 towers, and at the top of it, just think of a ship. So there's a ship that spans the top of all those 3 towers. It's incredible. It's massive, and it has in the middle of it, it's a pool which is the longest pool. You know, I think it's an Olympic size pool. Then it has bars and restaurants and all this. So it's an impressive view up there of Singapore, and it's just a really iconic building, which is, you know, you'd love to experience. We went there after a super long day. I'd been in the zoo all day. Shelby'd been out and about Raffles in a couple of places. Then we did the museum, and then we queued for about 2 hours for food, because that area is just the busiest area ever.
Well, we're not seeing it busy at all in Singapore anywhere else, but that was just rammed. It was like it was not fun.
Yeah, that was an odd thing. Like everywhere else, like the zoo, when you went to Universal, it was empty. You know, easy to get around. The zoo was really easy to get around. We were never bump to bumper in any experience, but there, the marina, I personally I would go there for one night just to see it, but then I wouldn't spend multiple nights there, because it wasn't just busy. It was the best way to explain it is it's like a festival. It was that busy. When you're at a music festival and you're in a crowd at the main stage, and then everyone's trying to get out, that is not an overstatement. That is exactly what it was.
If anything, it's an understatement, because you couldn't move for
it was insane.
Ages, could you?
It was insane.
I'm wondering though if it is always that busy, or if it's just because of the drone show, which was on Chinese New Year.
Maybe so. Yeah, I have a feeling it's that busy on every weekend.
Maybe.
It was crazy. It was you know, for families it was very scary, because I mean the entire shopping mall no one was moving for like hours. You know, it was just thousands and thousands of people just going opposite ways, and it was just a big, you know, mess of people not moving anywhere. So we just sort of went on the side anyway. But my sort of final verdict of Singapore is that I really had high hopes for Singapore. I expected it to be like this incredible, techie, advanced, unbelievable place. I don't know, I've come away a bit indifferent about it. I think something it definitely does have is its food is great. If you're looking for food, then Singapore is definitely the place. Singapore has more restaurants in any place than I've ever been in my entire life.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So they don't have, obviously they have shops on the streets, but they have just non-stop shopping malls. So you're always less than 5 minutes away from a shopping mall, and those shopping malls are just stacked with 20, 30 restaurants. So you have so much food to choose from. So the food, that was a massive, great point about Singapore. You were never far away from some great food, and the Chinese food there was fantastic. But I don't know, it was just something that it didn't blow me away as much as I anticipated. And also the community there, they weren't very pleasant. The customer service wasn't great. Just the locals, the people in the taxis were lovely, But just like the locals, they just weren't very pleasant, were they? They were just...
No, it was like a sort of I think an indifference, like the way that I describe
indifference
the
is
customer
fairer.
service is indifferent, because like I never received like bad service. It was just not good.
Yeah.
You know, like at one place that I went, I had to ask, like I feel like such a like diva saying this, but I had to ask multiple times for some sugar for my coffee, and they weren't busy, and he was like, yeah, and then he'd just go and serve, like go to a different table and then take them stuff, like, you know, and when he'd just be, you know, he'd pick up my plate, go off into the kitchen or whatever, and then he'd walk past me to go and like take someone else's order and not just bring the sugar. Like, I feel like such a diva saying that, but do you know what I mean? Like, just basic service, isn't it? Like, you ask for something, like you're used to receiving what it is you've asked for, or like, I don't know, I'm struggling to think of other examples, but yeah, just people being indifferent in their service, or like, and that one guy on Chinese New Year, like yelling at us to go to the table.
That was weird.
So,
that
like,
was so weird.
We went to this restaurant and they said, yeah, room upstairs. So we went upstairs, and then the guy starts, a woman who worked there walked by us to a table and was like cleaning it off. And then this guy starts shouting, like, over there, that table there.
But he wasn't looking at us.
But he wasn't looking at us, he was looking at that table and the woman who was over there cleaning it. And he went, that table there. And then we looked at him and he went, hello, that table there. I'm like, all right, you're talking to us. Like, okay, I guess we'll go over there. But then we decided not to eat there. So just interesting interactions, I guess.
Yeah, it was, I think indifferent. Yeah, I think maybe I was a bit harsh saying it wasn't good. I think it's just indifferent, you know, especially when we've been to Dubai and UAE and Indonesia before, which had, you know, fantastic customer service, both of them, you know, above and beyond customer service. Singapore just, it wasn't great, it wasn't bad, it was okay. And I feel like that honestly is my summary of it, is it's all right, like, which is I'm shocked by. I always expected Singapore to be this unbelievable place, like I would live there, people hype it up so much, and I was like, this is going to be one of the best places I've ever been to, and I just think it was all right.
I would tend to agree. I did really enjoy it. It feels.
I did not enjoy it, but nothing wowed me.
Yeah, well, that's a shame. Like, I feel like there's certain things that did me like.
Well, no, maybe a couple things.
So like the MRT, extremely cheap, convenient, quick, easy, like so easy to get around, and very cheaply. I've still not figured out how much it charged me, because it charged me like 6p on 2 different days, and I don't think it's charged me anything else. And yeah, just how safe it is. So like, you know, in terms of positives, it's extremely safe, which was very nice to, you know, there was no worry at any point. I didn't think that anyone was gonna, you know, obviously be careful if you go like you would anywhere, but I think they've got such a like strict laws there, and like, and I think this ties into the culture, like I was saying to Scott the other day, that I read about how, because the citizens of Singapore are really like well looked after by their government, is my understanding that there's like a universal basic income. Like I don't think anyone's poor, like I didn't see anyone homeless, never saw anyone asking for money.
No.
I don't feel like that's a thing there. I just think that everybody is, I mean, I could be wrong on that, you know, feel free to message us and tell me if I am wrong. And in terms of healthcare and everything, so I think the fact that everyone's just got like everything basically handed to them on a plate, like, why do I need to try and give like good customer service? Doesn't really matter, or, you know, like, why do I, you know, I think it's like very much a me cult, like, me don't need to worry about you, like, I can look after myself, everyone else, you know, everyone else is looked after. But yeah, so a bit of a mixed bag of an opinion, I'd say, that I've got in terms of like, so everything that you've said, you know, I don't necessarily disagree with. But yeah, I do like how safe it is, how clean it is. And yeah, the food's great.
Yeah, so we're not saying don't go, but I think what makes it hard is that I think Singapore is one of those places you have high hopes for, and I just don't think it quite hit on them. So I think that makes it harder, makes it a harsher review. Singapore isn't a bad place. It's like Shelby's saying, safe. Got some really cool stuff there. Definitely would have a great fun time there. It just might not be the incredible techie place you expected it to be. That's what I would say. I had fun. We saw some cool things. I enjoyed it, but it just didn't meet the standards I anticipated.
Yeah.
And then we finished off there. We went to Malaysia, which we are now. We've been here a couple of days. The last couple of days, we've just settled down. We're not actually being amongst Malaysia yet. But it's been very positive so far. It's been, very positive. Everyone's super friendly, like really friendly, wanting to help you out. The people here are lovely, aren't they? And it's cheap as anything.
Incredibly cheap. Like our taxi driver from the airport could not have been more helpful and friendly, could
lovely, yeah.
So like the whole, and it was quite a bit of traffic I think we faced, and it took us longer than expected to get into Kuala Lumpur. It definitely took over the hour that we thought it was going to take. But yeah, the whole way, asking questions for advice on things to do, just insider tips like local advice, and the whole way he was speaking to us, wasn't he? And just super friendly. We got in Sunday night. So that night we just went to the supermarket. There's I don't know if it's a chain, but that Village Grocer, very well stocked supermarket. So that makes me happy because I love a supermarket shop, and it was nice because then we could just get all of our food. Like we've got enough food for definitely a week, and it cost like 70 quid I think for two of us, which was good. And that was like an everything shop, like toilet roll and all.
Yeah, it was a very well stocked shop. It was also not just well stocked, but it was easy to navigate. I hate supermarkets at home are so hard to navigate, and they're very deliberate in that. But it was very well stocked. You got about 12 different peanut butters, and all the sort of cool extra things. Cereals that you don't get at home, chocolate bars you don't get at home, cool drinks, which is fun. I enjoy that in the shops. Abroad you get some quirky new offcuts of the brands, but you get like special editions here, so that's really fun. And it's a 5-minute walk. So first impressions are fantastic. Friendly, clean, accommodation's great. They've got
security on the door.
Yeah, super secure, like security on on a couple of floors, but they're very friendly, so that makes us feel safe. I've got good feelings about Malaysia, to the point where I think we should move here.
Well, that is a discussion to be had, isn't it, my darling?
A discussion to be had. No, we haven't hit that review yet, but behind the scenes we have had conversations of living in Malaysia, for a period of time, and now this is our first experience of Malaysia, and it's been a very positive one. So I look forward to experiencing it more over this next month, and we'll have a think about it. But at the moment, I don't want to jinx as it's looking positive. So let's see how that goes.
Absolutely.
And before we do move on to the next section, Shelby completed an interview today, which has got her a job in a week's time, I'm sure.
Well, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, the next time that we, record a podcast, hopefully I will be an employed human. So up to present, Scott has been working full time for his company that he works for, and I've just been working on personal projects. So I've got a few things going on online, e-commerce things, publishing, etc. But this is hopefully I'll be now secure in a full time role. So fingers crossed, wish me luck, touch wood, all that. Positive feelings about it.
I'm excited to see you get it. It's a great role, and I think it really is a great development in your career as well. So I'm excited to see that. And Shelby has underestimated how much she does there. She runs 5 social accounts, for multiple projects, from a full Etsy shop of all sorts of printed goods, and then full self-published motivational book. Self-development book, not a motivational, but a self-development book. You do all sorts, and you do a ton of posts, and you're doing a great job, and you're on lots of you're on lots of freelancer sites as well, aren't you? We haven't done that one.
No,
actually.
we haven't.
Was that a scam or was it not?
That's what I'm still trying to figure out. If anyone has any advice on Upwork and spotting scams, please do let me know. I've had a few. I need to get on Upwork and.
We'll send them this.
So yeah,
this is what they need.
Yeah, to be fair, that's the second you send a recording from your phone. Yeah. So yeah, if you know anything about Upwork and any scams tactics that I need to look out for. My concern is that it's because I had a contact from someone saying, I want you to submit a proposal, so I submit the proposal, and they're like, oh hey, actually we don't use this account anymore, can you submit it to this one? So now I'm like, I don't know.
I would just send it, and then, if they give you 100 quid, great. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah, true. Okay, let's get on it.
Let's, so exciting things. So that was quite a lengthy update. And again, we'll look to shorten this, and we're still figuring this out, guys, so please bear with us. So if you just yawned for the last 40 minutes, we apologise. Hopefully you didn't. But again, we're trying to figure this out. We're trying to figure out the cadence. How detailed do we go? Yeah, we're finding our feet. But yeah,
I was going to say, just before we do move on to the next section, I did promise that I would speak about burritos, so I must do that. Burrito. So there's a Mexican restaurant, just briefly. There's a Mexican restaurant in Bali called Lulu's, and they showed films on Mondays and Fridays. And they had a dog, and this dog had a bandana on, and we were like, this is such a sweet dog. He just came and sat by me dinner. We were in there late at night, right up to close, and he just came and as dogs do, and they just lean on you to show love. And a lot of the dogs in Bali seem like cats. They're not really interested in you, whereas Burrito was a dog's dog. He was just a dog's dog. So it let me give him lots of cuddles, belly rubs, chin rubs, the lot. It was just, oh God, it was wonderful. But then when we were walking home, Burrito decided to follow us, and it was a good 20-minute walk back to where we were staying. But Burrito follows the whole way. And then he came into contact with our local dogs, and I was a bit worried about that at that point, and to the point where he ended up following us and sitting down on our porch for a while. But then I was really concerned, because I was like, oh, what if I don't know, what if the dogs couldn't get him in the night? Anyway, so I followed him out, I sort of ushered him towards the direction of his home, and I watched him wander off in that direction. But I was thinking about it all night. I was so worried. And I thought, so I started messaging the restaurant. I was like, please let me know when you see Burrito. And they're like, don't worry, Burrito knows his way around. It's all the dogs just wander off wherever they want in Bali. But I was super concerned about him, to the point that, I contacted them on WhatsApp, I contacted them on Instagram. And then the next day, I walked down and I was like, I've got to find, until I've seen him, or they've verified that he's okay, I'm just going to be so worried that I've led this dog astray. And anyway, just out of the bushes, I was looking around, I was like, oh, he's not here, what am I going to do? I'm going to worry about him forever. Just out of this shrubbery and bushes, I just saw Burrito come out. He came up, gave me a little nose bump, and was off on his merry way. And that concludes the story of Burrito. But we did see him again another time, and he'll have a special place in my heart forever.
He is a great dog. And you'll find that in Indonesia, if you go there, you're going to make friends with lots of dogs. Probably more, lots and lots of dogs. So moving on to relationships. So what we want to do with this piece is, first section, give you updates of, what's going on. And of course, travel is a big part of that right now in our lives. But of course, as we continue this podcast, we're not going to be traveling to the extent we are our whole lives, but there'll be months where it won't be as much about travel. It might be about more just happenings in our personal lives and what we've got up to. Maybe a fun concert we went to, maybe something that's gone wrong in our lives. But right now it's traveling, and we want to also communicate to you what we are learning in our relationship, how we're staying connected to each other, how we're staying connected with our family and our friends, what we're doing, what have we learned, where have we gone wrong. So we're just going to keep this quite short, because I think we did quite a bit on the last section, so we're going to keep this quite short, but I think we'll just go one for one. And let's go against the grain, because they would usually say ladies first. Why don't we go men first?
Why not?
Let's go against the grain. It probably would have been better if you said that. Now I've said that, it kind of looks...
Gentlemen first.
Yeah, I kind of look like a dick. But...
I insist, Scott.
Okay, there we go. Is letting each other do what we want to do, don't have to do everything together. Okay, so I think this is a key one, which is important actually, is if you both want to do something opposing, you know, let's say, you know, it's today and I want to go to the zoo and Shelby wants to go to Universal, well then do that. You know, I'll go to the zoo, Shelby go to Universal. I see that too much, and something we've always felt that we needed to do is that we must do everything together. And if we don't want to do the same thing, then we find a different activity that we kind of want to do. And then just to make sure that we're together and we're experiencing it all together, like we feel like we must do it. But we've learned throughout the relationship, you know, that just spoils it. That just, you know, it makes the other person resentful that they haven't experienced that once in a lifetime thing they really wanted to do. And it just creates an issue and a challenge. So I think what's important is in those moments where you recognize where you don't both want to do the same thing, or, you know, someone wants to do something a lot today, the other person just wants to chill out, well, then do that. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. It doesn't mean your relationship's broken. It doesn't mean you don't love each other. It doesn't mean you don't want to be with each other. It just means you want to do two different things today.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
I think that is super important. Like, you know, we have this thing that we sometimes say about like a scale of like 0 to 10, how much do you want to do a thing? And yeah, of course, sometimes you're going to compromise and you're going to do something that one person wants to do more than the other. But if there's an opportunity for you to both go and get, you know, your 10 out of 10 experience that you want to do, why would you not do that? Why would you settle for you both doing something that you like moderately want to do just to be together? You know, that's just, it just makes sense. Like, and what's wonderful about it is us going off and doing our own things, then we can come back and talk about it and share that with each other. So like we've shared in the experience and in that way. But then equally, so to move on to the next point, giving each other space to have rest time. So even if we are physically together, like in the same bed, we can be watching something else on our laptops. We can be having our own, or in, you know, the separate room in the apartment or whatever. It's really important to have that downtime that's just for you as well, because we are together, look, far more than most couples would be. I think, you know, because a lot
Absolutely.
of people go to work every day and then they come back and then they have their downtime together, which, you know, I mean, that sort of raises a question, doesn't it, of people also need to do that, I think, in even if they're not together throughout the day, you know, having that downtime that's just for you is really important to recharge. If you know, you can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't be there for the other person if you're not there for yourself first. If you don't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else? Can I get an amen or something to that effect, RuPaul would say?
I love that. That wasn't Paul. That was our friend. Oh,
RuPaul. It's
RuPaul. I thought you said Paul Wood.
As RuPaul would say.
He said Paul Wood. I was like, who's Paul Wood? I was like, that's RuPaul. Yeah.
If you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else?
We love RuPaul over here. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that.
No, that's a great point. You know, that definitely is a great point. So Shelby be watching Catching Up with the Kardashians.
I love how you put that as my thing.
Well, that is your thing, yeah.
Well, I do watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but I wouldn't say it's my defining content.
Well, Shelby, I don't know, it's just one that came up my head.
I think it's quite funny, like you put wrestling for you.
Well, because it would be wrestling.
Kardashians for Shelby.
Yeah, my personal thing would be wrestling, something like this, or Catching Up with the Rugby. And then yours is, you know, Kardashians.
In fairness, I did just say to you yesterday, I'm gutted that Disney Plus isn't available in Malaysia because now I can't watch the Kardashians. There we
go. Point proven.
Well.
The final one we've got down here is, what on earth is that? Oh, that is not a thing. I don't think that actually is a relationship thing. I think that's from a different section.
Well, let's move on to family.
So I think we might move on to family. Yes, so family, how have we stayed connected? So it was my mum's birthday recently. So of course, you know, I've not been there. You know, we're a very connected family. You know, we like to, you know, be around each other on their birthdays and Christmas. That's important for us. And, you know, even if you're just popping around for an hour, you know, just seeing them and giving them the present, you know, having a drink with them, that's important for us in our family. So I wanted to do as much as I could do there. Of course, I'm not there. I was in Singapore at the time, so I did as much as I could. I sent a card. I'm sure your mother is the same. If she doesn't say she is, I bet she actually is. She's just hiding it. Mothers, I've learned, are very sentimental with cards. To be honest, I think that's quite a female thing. Because as a man, we could not give two tosses about a card.
I must say, I'm not particularly bothered.
I don't think that's true. Women like cards, let's just say, but mothers definitely are, and I respect that. That's absolutely fine. And I sent her a card, sent lots of messages, and then I had a phone call over dinner. So we spoke over dinner whilst I, you know, ate my food down the phone to her. So that was really nice. You know, I connected to her as much as I possibly could. And with my friends, you know, staying connected to them. I like to send audio messages. So I get, you know, I'm either doing audio to text or just sending audio messages because, you know, I just give up with writing these days, or typing even. So I had a couple hours phone calls with two of my friends, you know, catching up, you know, just connecting with them, catching up and making sure that, you know, they're okay and that, you know, just staying connected. And I think a phone call, I think so many people stick to just sending WhatsApp messages, which is fine, but I don't think it's fine as a constant. I think it's important to, you know, pick up the phone, set up a Teams call, or whatever platform you use, see their faces, you know, have a phone call. It's just, you get to really catch up on a different level when you do that. There's only so much that can be said and felt through text. So that's all my points that I've learned and I've stayed connected.
Yeah, yeah. Likewise. I mean, I've had phone calls home with the parents. I've done video calls with both of them. In fact, a few times because my mum and I have been to Bali together, and one of my favourite cafes is Alchemy Cafe, and my mum too. Like last time we went, I've got some lovely pictures of us sat on the day beds in there, and you know it's got some really fun memories for us both there. So a few times that I'd go down and have a coffee, it'd coincide. I'd go in the afternoon, our time, which was morning, back home, and my mum would just be having her coffee. And back home, we've got these egg chairs in the living room, and mum and I would always sit and have a coffee in those egg chairs, you know, on a Sunday morning or any day that she got time off or I got time off together. So it was nice to be able to go and have a coffee somewhere that we would have had it in Bali while my mum's at home drinking coffee where we normally drink coffee. So that was really nice to be able to video message her, from there and have a coffee together. And then my dad, just video messaged him when he's out and about. Got some funny pictures of him because he doesn't understand video messaging too well. So he'll have the, you know, he's that stereotypical sort of guy with the phone on video message, but it's to his ear. So like I need to see your face, and then I'll just put it like right up his nose. So it's quite funny. And then voice notes to friends. Sadly, I haven't been able to video message my nephews yet because the times of day when it's like good for us, basically, that they're at school. So I'm actually gonna try them tonight, but it'll be like midnight our time. So yeah, it's just sadly quite difficult. Something like videos and things like that. But yeah, so thanks for technology. Some postcards home actually from Raffles as well. So they are in the post, which is really nice. They've got like this stereo, you know, the yellow red post box, right, with ER on it. So they haven't changed it yet. Good old King George. George? What's he called? Charles. Charles. They haven't changed it anyway.
King Charles.
Yeah, King Charles.
Uh-huh.
That's our king now.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it still says ER on it. So yeah, nice little red post box. So I stood and wrote my postcards home and posted them. So we've done, what have we done? I've done email actually to Colin, my careers advisor from college, who I'm in contact with. So I've done email contact, I've done phone contact, video contact, text.
So you've, stay connected.
Carrier pigeon practically.
Carrier pigeon. And I think the two takeaways from that is, one, I think Colin could be a whole section. Because if it's the person I'm thinking of, that's quite an interesting relationship you guys have.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably a podcast for another day.
Yeah, I think bringing him on.
Oh, I mean, that would be epic if we could do that.
Yeah, so just a little, maybe just give us 5 seconds.
Yeah, so nutshell summary of Colin. When I was in college, I studied music at college, at Leeds College of Music. I was doing BTEC, so all my A-levels are in music, got, 3 BTEC in music. But I decided that I wanted to study philosophy at uni, and one careers advisor at college was like, absolutely not, you've put all your eggs in one basket, tough shit, suck it up sort of thing. And I wasn't happy with that, and I found out there was another careers advisor, Colin, and I went to see him, and he could not have been more supportive. Like, he really helped me with my personal statement, point me in the direction of some good reading materials around philosophy, and just generally was like a friend, like, there someone to talk to. He's been in and out of retirement as long as I've known him. He could be anything between 70 and 100. I don't know how old he is. Yeah. But he's, bless him. And he's got like this round robin, and he emails various people. I don't know how he knows them. I'm guessing some of them similar to me, just with updates on his life. And, I always reply, and I've been in contact for, 16 years now. Wow.
So 16 years, and he regularly sends out these email feeds. So yeah, has his own community, doesn't he? He's an interesting guy, and he's a guy who, is very open, and I think he would embrace us. I think it'd be, listen out for a Colin episode coming soon. And the other thing was, you said a King Charles. I thought you said a Prince Charles, which I had not an experience. No, I once had a man come up to me and said, "You look like the kind of guy who has a Prince Charles."
Is it Prince Albert?
Oh, Prince Albert. Oh, Prince Albert.
You do actually look like someone who got that.
Which I don't get why I look like that, but I had a man just tell me that. I was like...
You're pretty rock and roll.
I guess so. And I was like, wow, thank you.
Thank you.
He sort of grinned at me and carried on.
Sounds like a bit of a perv.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm curious, actually, in terms of interesting interactions on the MRT. You missed that bit.
Oh, right, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, this is sort of... I don't know. So our next section is philosophy, but I don't think it's philosophy. Oh, well, I don't know if I'm ready to talk about it. No, it's a bit of a weird one because you don't know what it is, and it's not as... I don't know. I'm just going to say it. And they're going to laugh. This is going to come out hilarious. But I still feel something about it.
Okay.
It's touched me in a funny way. I saw... I don't know what it's going to sound ridiculous. I'm going to make it sound ridiculous and I'll build it back up.
Okay.
I saw my granddad in the form of an Asian old man.
Okay. You saw your granddad in the form of an Asian old man?
An old Asian man, yeah.
Okay.
And my granddad's passed away, just so the viewers to know. So he passed away a few years now. And we were on the MRT, and there was this small Asian man, old Asian man, and he looked like my granddad.
Aww.
Obviously, my granddad wasn't Asian, by the way. I just clarify Asian, he was Chinese, this guy. No, it was his hair, because my granddad had very fine grey hair, and it was slicked back, exactly, and he just, I know it sounds bizarre, but just the way his forehead was, and even in his eyes, like everything, it looked so, I could just see my granddad in him so much, and it was freaky, and it was weird. Yeah, I've never had that experience before with, with him, or I can't really think of anyone else that's passed away that I've had that experience, seeing them in someone else. But yeah, it hit me in a weird way. I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't, thinking about him that day or in that moment. I looked at him and I it sort of threw me off, and I looked at him again, and that's all I could think of.
Mm.
And I think he caught me looking at him a bit too much. I was in two minds because I don't want to be rude, but I was like, I'm so sort of mesmerised by how much he looks like him. I'm just gonna have to stare at him. So I probably made him feel a bit uncomfortable. So I do apologise to that man. But I was like, I was just so amazed. So I just kept looking at him like, wow, I really felt like my granddad was there. So yeah, it sounds daft at first, but it was actually quite a touching moment.
Well, it's very touching. So how did it make you feel?
It was pleasant. I just felt like that. It can be spiritual at times, but I'm not religious. I would say I'm agnostic. But there's definitely moments where I feel I can open up to religion and sort of higher power. Maybe that's more the right word than a specific religion. And maybe I think that's what I felt in that moment, was just felt connected to him. Just felt like maybe that was him coming to say hello.
Oh, that's very nice.
So it was nice. It wasn't just like, oh, I looked at my girl and I laughed. Like, it has. I made quite an impact of it. I can still feel like I don't know how to explain, but I do still have some emotions towards it, and just sort of laughing at a small Asian man looking up like my granddad.
I can understand that, absolutely. Yeah, I'd like to think, that there are ways that our loved ones contact us, and very similar to very similar spiritual beliefs to yourself. And anytime I smell my grandma's perfume, I feel like that's like her there.
Yeah, smell can definitely be a big one. Kind of smell and music, taste.
Yeah.
Can definitely be it, and we could go down the route of Shelby picking up perfume.
Well, that's exactly why I find it such a significant decision to make. So I'm not one perfuming any of the time that I've known Scott. Like, I haven't had a perfume, and I'm on a mission to find it. But part of the reason that I've struggled with that is because it's not just that I can't find one I like. There's plenty that I like, but I so associate smell with particular people. I've got a favourite aftershave of yours. You've got two now that I'm on board with. But Bleu de Chanel will always be your smell to me.
My original favourite one I can't wear.
No, you can't.
Why can't I wear it?
Because it smells like my dad. And I just don't want my boyfriend to smell like my dad.
So I've still got half a bottle of it. It's Sauvage, right?
Yeah.
So I got half a bottle. I loved it, and I can't wear it anymore because...
Well, you can wear it when you're not with me.
When am I not with you?
I don't know, when you go to events or something.
Yeah, God.
Yeah, and what's quite interesting is our mothers both wear the same perfume, and there's so many similarities between them, which is lovely. Coco Chanel Mademoiselle will always be my mum's smell, and now your mum's smell as well, and Clinique Aromatics will always be my grandma. So I think that's why it's really important to me to find a smell that, because of these. I know that will well, maybe not. Do you find that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. If you proved that in the airport when she said, "Let's go smell the mothers." I was like, "What?" And you noticed the perfume, and I thought, I don't know if I want to do that because it might be a bit odd. And I did it, and instantly felt like my mum was in the room.
Yeah.
And it does.
It's powerful.
It does. If you have a strong connection to your mother and your family, and you smell their scent, and you've not seen them for a while, then it does do something inside. It is emotional. You can't just go, "Oh yeah, it smells," like you feel. A moment of sadness, a moment of missing them, a moment of love. It triggers emotion. So that's why I was a bit hesitant about it, and it did. So definitely you do. The smell of someone definitely does trigger them. Absolutely. I think this is going nicely into the final section, philosophies. We've got quite sort of, we're reflecting here and
philosophical.
Yeah, I think we're getting quite philosophical, and we got into quite a good philosophical. I struggle with my words. So Shelby, every day, brings new grammar to my vocabulary. I still don't know if she makes them up, because there's just throughout the week there'll be moments where I can't come up with a word, and then Shelby will go, "Oh, that's a babbling brook." I'm like, what? A babbling brook? Like, that just doesn't sound correct. But apparently a babbling brook is pretty much a river, water that goes over rocks, from what I understood. But anyway, you always improve my grammar. So philosophy, we wanted to sort of get onto that as the last section. And I think the key one that's definitely been, it's not a new learning for us, but definitely we've noticed it more and more and more. And now it's become so present that we're now actively implementing our learnings from it. So when we went to Burning Man last year, 2023, there's just 101 things to do and so much more. There's no way you could do it all. I know people that have been going for 10 years and they still haven't done it all. It's crazy amount of stuff, and every year there's new things. And when you look at the agenda, you want to do so many things. So what you do is you race to them and you try to get them there. And the amount of times where you don't get there on time, or they're booked, they're too full already. It happens all the time. And you're in a desert, remember, so it is, you're not got the level of energy you do at home. You're exhausted. Rushing around is not easy there. You can't just rush around and do 7 different activities in one day. You'd be out with the lizards. You'd be drying out, because you've got to stop, you've got to drink, you've got to take nutrients on, otherwise you just pass out. So doing that, what we learned there is we kept chasing things and kept not getting to them on time, or not even finding them, because again it can be a bit complicated at times to find places. So we realised, and it was actually Tetris that mentioned this. Oh no, that was a different thing that I mentioned, scratch that. But we realised that it's important to not miss what is in front of you for the thing you are chasing. And that, I think, has been something that we have seen has impacted our experiences throughout our last 2 years the most.
Yeah.
I'd say that has impacted the most, is chasing something. We have to be at this certain place, this certain bar at a certain time. But on the route, there's been some really fun things that have looked interesting. But we said, we can't go, we'll come back.
Yeah, I took a photo of it or something, just something, I wrote it down just to be like, okay, yeah, let's get back to that.
Yeah. So, and I think that's meant we've lost a lot of fun experiences, and a lot of the time the thing that we're chasing, we end up, it ends up not happening for some reason.
Yeah.
So the argument is don't, look around what's around you, see what's in front of you, and be willing to stop chasing the thing you're looking for, to just enjoy what's around you. And I'll let Shelby give some examples to bring that to life, so it doesn't just sound like artsy-fartsy.
Yeah. Well, the way that I like to summarise it is don't miss what's here to chase what's there. So, yeah, the countless times that's happened. I mean, one example in Burning Man, we were going to a particular event, and like you said, it was full. And then on the way back, we just saw this group of people, a small group of people, sat around on lawn chairs. And we just wandered into it. We didn't know what it was about. It was called something like Adults at Play or something like that. And it was just conversation about how we can incorporate play into our life. When you're a child and you just, everything, the world is your playground. You're just rushing and climbing the tree, you're stepping up on the wall to walk along that instead of the path. And so it was a conversation about that, how we can incorporate play into our daily lives, whether it's when you're in the shopping in the supermarket and you maybe zigzag with your trolley down the aisles instead, just have a bit of fun. And we learned some circus tricks there, didn't we? I could maybe try and stick a photo in the show notes somewhere, which was good fun. And we would never have thought to go to it. It just so happens that we were passing it and we went in. But recently we were on our way to Raffles, as we discussed. We knew that we were going to go and get a Singapore sling in the famous Long Bar of Raffles, and on the way we saw this whiskey bar, and it said something like, however it was described, it just sounded like us. It said like travel and whiskey, or so it said something like that.
Yeah, 15 new ways of a whiskey. I think it's 15 types of whiskies.
Yeah, your whiskey 15 ways or something like that. And it was just cool branding. And then we were looking, we were trying to figure out what the actual venue was that it was inside, because it was just like this gold plaque on the wall. And then we were like, you're going to search for it on our phones, the name of the place, and then take a picture of it. And then Scott just went, why don't we just go in? And we were like, absolutely, why don't we just go in? Like, we don't need to get to Raffles, is still going to be there. So we went in and we had our we had a look at the menu. It was a really interesting menu. We thought, well, we're probably going to get an old fashioned, because that is our go-to whiskey drink, and we like to experience an old fashioned everywhere we go, because we've had such varying degrees of success with it. Heads up, the US does the worst old fashioned.
Oh, they suck. Don't even bother.
Like, I just don't think that they know what it is. But then I feel like they originated it. I don't know, but they're just not good. A US old fashioned is not good, and it's not what it should be.
It's not, and you want to go easy on the ice, and just if you do still want to get one, when you say easy on the ice, you're still going to get 10 ice cubes.
Yeah.
So you need to be very specific. Just give me one big ice cube, or give me 2 or 3. If they're small ones, just give me 3 small ice cubes. Because even if you say easy on the ice, you're still getting 10 ice cubes in the glass.
And that's the best thing, is to get those places that have those giant ice cubes that basically take up the entire glass, and often they'll be embossed with, sort of burnt in with the logo of the place. They're the good ice cubes, because they're not going to melt too fast.
Much better.
It's going to keep your drink cold, but it's not going to water it down. And we like ours on the sweet side.
Yeah.
It's got, like, say, smoky. I prefer mine not. So you've got your variety of different options in terms of whiskies, and suddenly become an old-fashioned podcast. But yeah, so we went in and we enjoyed those drinks. Scott got an Earl Grey. Yeah,
that was interesting. It was integrating Earl Grey tea with the old fashioned, and it was weird. I wondered how they were going to do it, and you really could taste the Earl Grey, but it was nice. It blended well, so it was really nice. We like Shelby said, we love our old fashions and we love whiskey. So there's not many whiskies you're going to put in front of me that I'm not going to like. So yeah, it was really good, and definitely was worth stopping. And I think another example is Finn's. So we went to Canggu, which is a place in Indonesia, and our plan was to, we've got to see everything in Canggu. We should go to Finn's Beach Club, which is a famous beach club.
Best in the world.
Best in the world, apparently. Yeah. I mean, it was phenomenal. Then we go, right, we'd plan the whole day, then we'll go see a couple temples, we'll go to the beach, we'll go to the markets, we'll go find some food. We planned out like 6 things. We even had a drive for the full day. And then we went to Finn's Beach Club initially. Thought, right, we'll be here for a couple hours, check it out, see what it's about. So we've been there. And we went there, and it was just unbelievable. It was, and we were 3 hours in, we were like, this is great. Like, we do not want to change this. But we were like, no, we should see Canggu. We're in a country we're not usually in. Let's experience it. But just every hour we stayed there, we're like, we've got to stay here. Like, it's just brilliant. And we got there at like 1 or 2, and we stayed there all the way till it closed. It was fantastic. It has loads of pools, great, there's like 10 restaurants in there. Loads of great drinks. There's a beach right next to it, as you would expect. Swim at bars. It was just really, really fun beach club. We're not ones for raving into the night, but what we do like is we like unique experiences, and we felt this was very unique because it was a really well-run beach club, which had a lot more. It wasn't just in your face, rave, too loud music. It was a really cool place with a lot of interesting people. I mean, we met quite an interesting person, didn't we?
We did. With a fella called Michael, who was a roadie for Blink-182, which is one of our favourite bands. So that was cool connecting with him. He's a fun guy. We met some Aussies.
Some Aussies that tried to marry us off.
Oh yeah, so there were these 2 19-year-old Aussies And yeah, so she was like chatting away, really fun and friendly, and I was saying how I used to live there and I really want Scott to go there and I want us to move there and all that. And then she's like, are you married? And I said no, and she said why? I said, well, you need to talk to him about that, joking. And then she like orchestrated a water wedding, and then out of nowhere, the other one, who seemed like a bit of a loose cannon, if I'm being honest. She was fun, but she seemed a bit, of a loose cannon is how I would describe her. She's like, we could be your kids. And I was like, come again? She's like, if we're 19 and you're 31, like, we'd have been, and that's my Aussie accent, by the way. She's like, oh, you'd have been, well, first of all, she got it right. She was like, hang on, I was 12 years. She's like, oh, you've had to have been 12. And then she went, no, you'd have been 23 when you had us. Yeah, we could be your kids. I was like, piss right off. But yeah, they were delightful, other than making me feel ancient.
Yes, it did feel. I didn't realise how young. I was surprised when they told us their age.
Yeah.
They came across much older. Yeah, it was a funny moment though, wasn't it?
It was
a funny moment. So I think the end of it is just, don't get lost in trying to chase something, and if it's just not working out, just and you see something along the way, then just go for that. Every time we've done that, we've had a much more fun night, day. It's just been much better. We've only been more stressed out by trying to chase something that we can't get to, or things are all going against us, from can't get in a taxi, we need to eat, whatever it is, maybe not feeling too well. I think that's pretty much it. We were going to say be spontaneous, but I think we're not very spontaneous people, are we?
I'd say we're somewhat spontaneous.
We like plans.
We are planners, that is
we
for
are
sure.
planners, we do like things planned. But we were spontaneous the other day, and it works out really well. I wasn't able to see the Wonka film in the cinema, and I really wanted to see it.
Just last night.
And we saw it last night, which was awesome. But we had like 30 minutes to get there, and we figured it. We found out it was going to be on like an hour before it, and then we had to quickly eat and everything. So, and then the tickets, weren't available online because it was too soon. So we're like, should we go? Shouldn't we go? And, by the time we would have figured that out, it would have already come and go. And somebody's like, you know what? Let's just go and we'll figure it out. It costs less than £5 to get there anyway, and then in a taxi. And we went, and it all worked out, and I got to see Wonka in the cinema, and I was overjoyed with that, because that was, I really, there's some films that I really would like, I enjoy seeing in the cinema. Most I can watch at home, that's fine, but there are just some I really would prefer to watch in the cinema, and that was one of them. So I feel very, very happy that I got that.
Yeah.
So spontaneous, something that we're definitely working on. We are an indecisive couple. I think that's it. That was our sections. It was a bit of a lengthy one, but we got there.
We did.
And again, bear with us. We're trying to figure this out. I think there needs some fat that needs cutting.
Cut the fat. Trim the fat.
We will trim the fat. And that isn't animal fat. That is
coconut oil.
That is coconut fat. We'll do that and we'll figure it out. But lots of love to you all.
Lots of love.
And we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.